DexTrader.com, and here today is Monday, May 15th, and this is the Forex Forecast. That's right, Pro Webinar Forex Forecast. Hope you had a great Mother's Day. If you didn't, then I'm sorry, but if you did, great. The week that's about to come and hit us in between the eyes is pretty vast. So before I get too far into this, let me introduce. We also have Mike Ficca on the line with us. Mike.
Hey guys, how we doing?
Mike, the I want to go to the hospital because I like the nurses. Ficca is on the line with us.
No.
No more hospital trips, buddy.
No.
No more hospital. No more blood pressure stuff. Yeah. I wonder if you had like a support and resistance line for your blood pressure. That would have been pretty cool. Let's trade Mike's blood pressure.
I'll go high.
Yeah. I got a level right here that I'm gonna get it. No, we can't do that. All right, so enough kidding aside. Last week was a pretty fun week because we had a lot of things happening and a lot of things moving. The market, of course, was pretty solid, and there was a lot of things that were going on as far as news-wise, but we had some good results on some base signals, some great results on some of those signals, and some things that have happened. And we'll discuss that here now. But before we do, this thing. If you don't realize that you could lose your money, then you're in the wrong industry. That's enough of that. I might have Mike give me his interpretation of that whole sheet here one day. All right, topics we're going to talk about today is sort of a mix between the two. We're going to be doing a presentation and a whiteboard webinar because we're going to talk about each one of the things, but I also want to show you what we're doing and what's happening. There's a lot of stuff, right? Lots of stuff. Dex data charts, that's right. A while ago, we made the charts. We'll discuss those here in a little bit length on what they are and what they've done and what we're doing with them. Dex analysis feed, which is coming here too for the Forex educational signals. But this is going to be several posts that we're going to be putting out that are going to explain the market for the day. There'll be some for the dailies. There'll be some for the week. There'll be some for Forex and kind of looking at that process. So I want you to start regularly getting and seeing these posts, because on these posts, it's going to really give you some levels that if it hits certain levels where the market should be going from that point. We'll also talk about the NA intradays today, the news avoidance system that we tweaked here about a week ago, and last week we sort of killed it. We had a lot of great success, and I've been trading them nonstop. I won't say nonstop. I've been trading them with the care of how I would trade anything, and I'll discuss what that means here inside the webinar. I want to talk about something new today. Something new today is the Dex beta testing site. We'll explain what we mean by Dex beta testing site. But we're going to be doing in there 8-hour spreads, a post-delivery platform. Yeah, wait till you see this thing. Short-term spreads for Nadex. Yeah, got their little groove going on now, right? And of course, Forex Ed signals, Forex educational signals that'll be in there as well. And I'll explain to you why we're doing this and why it's so important for us to really start to look at being able to take this next position on, and how powerful it's going to be for if you are brand new. And if you're brand new, okay, if you're brand new to the industry, if you're brand new to trading, then I'm not going to ask you to come and join us here just yet, okay? And there's things to do in there. We might ask you at certain points where we're looking for people that have no experience to come in to test the mentality behind it, and you can take the benefit of it. But until then, I'm going to be asking just for people that have a little bit of experience being able to use the machinery, the mechanics of things, right? And we'll explain what that means here in a moment. Let's get started. All right, that's the end. Here's my final notes. No, I can't. This is where the whiteboard stuff is. So let's talk about the Dex data charts. This is something that on the website, and let me get over to the website here real quick. Yes, you won't be able to see it. There's a lot of stuff going on. Give me 1 second. Under the Signals tab, there is what we call Dex Data Charts, and it'll bring you up a page that looks like this. I put an email out or a video out today on our YouTube channel on dextrader.com for YouTube, so if you want to have a look at that. But you can also watch that right here. You click this to open up a new page. You can see my screen, right, Mike?
Yes.
Okay. So if some of you have not seen this before, if you're watching this after the fact, or maybe you're in the room, you haven't seen this before, what the history is of Dex Data Charts is that most systems out there that do trading, like for TradingView or any chart system or anything, they need what we refer to as a data feed, right? And the data feed is basically, let me jump back over to Dex here real quick to the webinar. I want you to think of Forex not as a one place for you to be able to go to. You know, this isn't Forex here and all the prices happening in here, okay? So there's no one place to go to directly, right? It's not like the stock exchange to where you can, you know, go to a particular market value or an exchange and look on it and say, okay, you know, the price of this stock, the price of this stock, the price of this stock. There's no one spot for it, right? Because really, the Forex market is comprised of a whole bunch of banks. I don't know why my pen keeps messing up here. It's comprised of a whole bunch of banks overseas, and we call this the inter-exchange, okay? And the inter-exchange happens not in one central source like this depiction, okay? It happens between them, between the different banks. You know, one bank could talk to another bank, this bank could talk to this bank, and what have you. In some cases, a broker, okay, can have a relationship with a single bank or have a relationship with them all, right? Because they're in this inner working of the bank structure. So they get to see the prices of all the different systems in there, right? And these are the big ones, right? These are the ones that we normally use, correct? So they get to see the prices of these. So they know either side, the quote or the base price or what have you. So when this information is asked for, you know, some banks, this bank may have a slightly different price than this bank, and this bank might have a slighter price than both of these banks. But there's a process that they do to be able to alleviate that, and that's putting it into a central data feed that can go out. Now, there's a ton of feed networks out there, right, that all try to access this information either via the bank or the central exchange. So when they do this, their data, depending on how fast it is, okay, and at what level they give it at, some give it per tick, some give it to the micro tick, the second, the millisecond, the whatever, right? How fast do you really need to have it? And so the data itself becomes a commodity, right? Because the more accurate, the more money you can make, right? The less mistakes are made. Because you don't want to have one pair upside down on another one when it's trading. If the euro British go pound is off by just a couple of ticks, and then you got a tick spread, you got all these other values in there, then the data is tainted. You don't know exactly when to get, especially if you're dealing with micro pipping. Okay? But we're not going to be dealing with that. There are several companies out there that offer this data feed, right? And they say, okay, you can attach the data feed and get your information and bring it into your website, right? And the API that we get to do that, this unfortunately costs money, right? There's some companies out there like TradingView and a few other companies that give you charts and all that stuff, and they have their data in it, but it really does come from another source, whether it's the same source or not. And they pay for their data feed at one point or another at some other place. There's only about 5 or 6 really big data feed systems out there that give you the information, and you know, for that are the big ones. They get it directly. They do all the work. They go all the banks and all the central exchanges and all the other people that involved in it, right? And to be able to average it out and do whatever they're supposed to do to it to make it legal, right? There's only a handful of these, and I won't mention them here. And we were originally trying to deal with a second-hand broker of data, if you will. like a trading view. And when we did, they're like, yeah, it's going to be a lot of money for you to be able to do this. And if you got anybody who attaches to the feed via your website, we want to know who they are. And we want to charge them $29.99 a month. And we said, nope, you can't do that.
Putting it politely.
Yeah, I said I use some other choice words, right? And we won't be doing. Hey, stop it! That's not funny. Are you ready, Matt?
No.
Did you write that?
Nerp.
You wrote that. Didn't you? Okay.
Nerp.
So I basically said this. No way. We're not going to do that because we're not going to pass that price on to the customer. We didn't want to do that. So just like anything else we do here at Dex, or I should say that I do at a certain period of time, somebody says no, or they kind of mess with us at all, or we decide that we're going to build it ourselves. So we build the yes process, right? And that's what we do. So what did I have to do? I had to find one of those big dog companies and make a relationship with them, right? And get the data feed. So I got the data feed from a company, and why we got it at such a good price on it was because I'm not getting what they call per tick data, right? Because even if you're trading on a 5-minute series, right, the overall look that you're looking at a trade on happening in because we're on a 1-minute chart, okay, having support and resistance or the MACD or anything else on the chart, I'm not worried so much about every micro tick that happens along this level here, okay? Because I'm making my decision based on the previous 5-minute series on that process and using the MACD and the signal that comes out, right? The signal comes out and it's a down position. For me to stay in for this next 5 minutes, I'm not looking at micro data to get out, right? To see when the trade's going against me or if I'm going to lose. I'm in for the win, right? I got in because certain things that happened up to this point had led me, because the system inside has calculated all the risk through those processes. I'm just using this to see if it's a good trade the moment it comes out. Should I get in? If this is a good trade, if this was a support level, is this a good trade? If this was a buy from this point, I probably wouldn't get in at this point because it's probably going to bounce off the support system. So I don't need per tick data on this. So what we call this is per frame, right? And per frame data is important because you just need to know what time frame you're on. If you're on a 1 minute, the price changes every minute. If you're on 15 minute, what happens? Price changes every 15 minutes. If you're on 30 minutes, price changes every 30 minutes, and so forth, all the way up to 1 day. Okay, and I'm going to show you what that chart looks like here in detail. So it's not so much I'm worried about price and money, but there were a lot of other features in it. Accuracy, of course. If you want per changing tick data, there's other sources out there that you can get in, like MetaTrader 4 and those things. But where the big resource came for us was to be able to make a charting system that wasn't MT4, Think or Swim, NinjaTrader, or any of these other ones, right? We want to be able to make our own chart system with our own secure data and apply our indicators to them, in that process and be able to trust them. Why? Because trust is difficult in this industry, isn't it? And we wanted to know that if it was our data coming over, we could visualize the data and see that it was ours from this source, okay? And that we knew that it was real and that nobody was messing with it. It wasn't coming from a broker that was trying to fit us into a bid-ask spread, or from a company that was trying to give us charting information about a trade on their exchange. Very crazy. I had one customer wrote me the other day. He goes, I'm on this particular, I won't name the exchange, I'm on this company's webpage and they offer signals. This is a good thing, right? Because they know their system well enough, they'll know if they're going to win or lose, right? And I said, are you crazy? You're dealing with a company that doesn't actually attach to Forex, and they're offering signals for their own system. Do you realize when you enter into a trade, you're actually entering into a trade with them, right? You're not entering a trade against the exchange. You're trading with them, against them. You're betting with that person, but they have the opposite position that you do. It's like if you went to a racetrack and stood outside the racetrack and bet with your buddy, and he said to you, hey man, why don't you take the blue horse there because it's going to win today? And there's only two horses in there. And it's either you or him betting against the same horse, whether to win or to lose. And he tells you which way to go. Doesn't make any sense. Why would he give you a winner at all? Ever. And this is where a lot of people fell into victim overseas and overseas binaries, because they would get into those systems and it would be like, here's our trading information. You should trade the Euro USD to go down. You know what I mean? And people lost a lot of money in that process because they wanted, see, everybody wants to have an advantage. And the only advantage that all of you have from this point on is education. It's teaching yourself. Even the signals that we provide, folks, and Mike, you know, people are going to kick me for saying this, you know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But even the education that we provide is only as good as you will allow it to be. You have to become more of a trader, more of you have to become more self-aware, if you will, of the market and how things operate in order for you to do well. There's no major advantage. The only advantage our signals and our systems and our training have over anybody else is that it has transparency. You have to have the availability to dissect that information, but also be able to use it. As far as you know what it does, but you have to sort of absorb it, that it gets absorbed into your whole mentality to be able to trade. And that doesn't come from a micro tick. It comes from an overall macro look of trading, we refer to as price action trading. Okay, so let's go back over to Dex data charts. The process is pretty cool because we have on the charts themselves, we have the 10 major ones that we usually work with, right? Don't think I'll ever add anything else on to this system just yet, but you know, these are the major 10. So you can come in, you can switch out which one you want to use. Now I know it looks pretty crazy with all these lines on here, right? But actually all these lines actually mean something. You know, these are different support and resistant levels throughout the time. And they're pivot areas. Okay. So when you're in on the smaller time frames, 1 minute, 5 minute, 15 minute, they're really important. If I shift to a 1 minute chart, and a lot of stuff happening here. I don't think Edge with my system going on right now is allowing me to do a lot of stuff. So I'm going to switch to refresh the page here. Okay, here we go. So if you have a mouse wheel, you can scroll in, scroll out, and there's a whole bunch of things that you can do. And again, I'm freezing here. Edge really does not like my program that I'm using to screen capture right now, and everything's freezing on me. I do apologize. Let me see if I can get over to Dex Trader here. There we go. That's better. Microsoft Edge, crazy. You hear that ding, that means that there's new data being pushed into the stream there. So I do apologize. It may become annoying, and we'll find a way to get rid of the ding in there. But you can shift what pair you're going to use. You can shift the time frame you're going to use. You can even take off and add what one you want. If I want to remove if it's too much with all the information in there, well, I can add it back in. It's that simple. No downloading, no crazy other crazy stuff, right? It's just simple, easy to use, drag around. You can move up and down. If you ever have to reload, just right click into the bar and reload the page, and it'll automatically reload. But each one of these, if you can kind of see now that each one of these lines on the support and resistance becomes an area of influence, okay? And if you look more left, you'll start to see what those are, okay? Scrunch this in. You begin to see these different patterns of where are these numbers hitting at and why they're so important, right? And so then when you come back in and you're looking at your time frames, you're looking at your markets to be able to trade, you just got to get used to handling it. You'll know when to get in and get out at certain trades depending on the time frame. Also utilizing your support and resistance with your Dex MACD. Now this isn't just a standard Dex, standard MACD like we normally have on like trading views charts. This is the Dex MACD from Dex Indicators. This is the support and resistance, the new support and resistance from Dex Indicators that we applied on this particular chart. We had a lot of people who didn't want to do Dex Indicators because they didn't like MetaTrader 4 and downloading it. Some of you that had Macs didn't want to do that. The Apple Macs. You wanted to have your own thing to be able to use those particular indicators. And these are the two most popular. Now, we do have the WB version for the 5-minute signals that are in the WB to be able to do the same thing, okay? But they're a little bit smaller. And I did this for a reason because I wanted to be able to fit them into a place. Soon I will give you a little button to pull up for a bigger chart to pull inside. If you go, sorry, that was really loud. But if you're going to follow, I'll have that button for you here shortly. Okay, but for now, the Dex data charts is very important to be able to use. And if you're trading, if you got trades on, if you're following those values of the, the areas of, you're trying to get to those areas and see if it's going to hit something. If you're into like a 1-hour trade and you want closer data, of course, use the 1-minute chart. Bring it down to a 1 minute. You see what I'm saying? So you have this availability to get closer data. If you're on a 15-minute chart, get it down to closer data by using the M1. All right. If you're doing top-down analysis, is pretty powerful too. If you're doing top-down analysis, if you're doing like 5-minute trades or even hour trades, you want about a 4-hour chart to look top-down. See what levels you're at. See what's bouncing zones. You can look at resistance zones and those kind of things. Very powerful. You can kind of see immediately. And again, if it becomes too confusing and you want to just go back to a nice little simple view to kind of look at where are my zones at, look like there's punch here, there's touch here, and it looks like it's already pierced that, so you could actually use this as support instead of resistance. You see, so very easy to start to navigate the process once you know how to use the tools. Pretty cool, Mike?
Yes, very.
I know you're a big fan of MetaTrader 4.
It's funny. I got used to it, actually. So I actually, when I'm doing the consoles for the WB and I come over here, it's a little bit different, but still just as good.
Right. I'm going to give you some special access to the 5-minute signal pages too, so you can start getting your people in. When you do trades, you can pull up just one chart, one real big chart, and see that, and then you can see where that signal is. It's pretty cool.
That is cool.
But I use Dex Indicators as a backup to everything that I do. I mean, I look at the charts on WB because it has a little bit of information than what the Dex Indicators are and the support and resistance on there. So if you have the availability to use the tool, use it. It's a finer cutting edge on a knife, or if it's a different specialty hammer that you're using. So keep that in mind, that find a way to use the tools. I like TradingView's systems in there because of the there is accuracy. There is, give me a second here, let me see if I log in. There is accuracy. There is the process of being able to draw on the charts and keep all the things on board. But for me personally, they're buggy. Everything has a bug to it at one point or another, especially if you're trying to use it on the internet. Okay, browsers and security stuff, all this stuff will affect it. So that's always something. But the one thing I didn't really like about them is that they're very difficult to navigate at times. And if I was going to have drawing tools on, I'd want better drawing tools and stuff that I could keep on. And there are things that we can do. I mean, there's snapshots you can do. There's all these little things that you can do with these charts and everything, which is pretty cool. But again, we couldn't put our indicators on them just yet, right? So we want to be able to have our own thing. All right, so that's the Dex data charts in a nut feed. The Dex analysis feed is pretty cool because we're going to be doing, let me see if I can get over there and find out right back. There is a part of the network that we want to be able to provide as much information as possible to just about, for Forex itself. Now, why would we provide information on Forex? Because everything we do is around the feed of Forex, right? So when there's certain things out there that will affect the feed in the direction of Forex, we want to know about it, right? We want to know that, hey, this is something that happens and it's going to affect it and make it go up. It's going to mess with our numbers over at Nadex or in Forex itself, right? So I wanted you to be able to see this here. Let me get back in here and desktop right here. So this is the one that was written this morning, right? And this is really important because the process itself will give us a technical look of, because here's a nice little wedge that's happening. And I'm going to give direction on that if it gets to a certain level. Now, this is a longer look for the week, right, of how far it can come up. I'm going to be giving daily stuff on particular pairs that I see that have a good price action movement, right? Because I'm going to be doing everything price action. I'm going to be doing everything by the eye and by the value, okay? You're going to get these clips in here of how everything's going to look and, being able to get in and get out. And I'm going to give you certain levels to be able to look at as well. But I want you to see how market value is going to affect the trades and everything else that we do. And you'll start learning that solution. And that's something that we're very proud of too, because those will be happening and I'll be training someone how to write those as well. Okay? So that's about the analysis feed. Let's go over and talk about NA intraday. NA intraday signals about a week and a half ago now. I think I discussed this last week too, that we shifted one of the algorithms. Now, I don't like changing up algorithms within a system because it kind of messes with the data, taints the data, right? And the data is very important to us. We all know this, right? But a couple of weeks ago, I started noticing this strange anomaly that kept on happening with the signals. And there were some times that we'd miss a news variance in the process. And so I started to see this misfire, if you will, and started going back to the trades to look to see how much it was misfiring. And I found out a few small, tiny errors in the process that, once we sharpened them, once we got rid of some of the errors that were firing off, our success rates went through the roof. Now, anything over 80% is something pretty good to be involved in. You get 86, 87, 89%. There was some big ones in there last week, end of last week. But remember, this is all about the market, right? And everything has its variance of being able to go up and down, right? So once you find out where is your break-even line, like over in Forex, okay? In trading actual Forex, where's the break-even line? It's usually about 51 to 52%, right? And why is this? I mean, it can be lower depending on that, how much you risk on one side to how much you want to get on a reward on another, all that kind of stuff, right? But in Nadex, if you're buying contracts for $80, right, or $78, whatever you're buying them for, right? $78. When we say buying, I mean purchase, right? When I say purchase, I mean this is how much you're risking. So you're risking $78 to make what? 22, right? Actually, after fees, it becomes 20 bucks, right? So if you're staying right around in this zone, what success rate do you need to have to be successful above this after fees? That's right. You need to have an 80% success rate, right? So doesn't it make sense that you would only choose ones that would have 80% or more? Absolutely. Now, there's some other variances that you can look at easily enough too, that once you get a signal that comes out, you usually drop down, jump over to the Euro USD, look at direction, look at trend, and you don't need anything super crazy with that, right? You can look at a trend because when this signal came out, Euro USD on the buy for 11:15 to 12 o'clock. We're talking 11:15 right around here. Okay, this was in a decline, right? It just started declining, and it just so happens that all this movement. Now, you may have not gotten into this trade. You may have pulled off. It did win by 7 pips, yay for us. Okay, but again, you had that decision. Was this something at 12 o'clock? Was this a good trend to be able to get into? Was this the counter trend that was happening here? Is it going to break out? If it drops down below this level now, it's in the opposite direction. All this great stuff in here. You could even use this information after the end of that trend to do in a counter trend because you had a nice little crossover by the system in there. If we go back and look at the Audi USD and looking at the information, or is it Audi USD? Audi JPY, the same time frame, it was on a sell, right? It said buy here, but it was under 80%. So at this point too, you're looking at this NA intraday as an event that is happening, not just as a solid, I should go exactly the way this tells me. It's to say, hey, look, something is happening. Go have a look at the market. Find out the price action. Look at the movement. Start looking at support and resistance. And why is that so important? Well, if we go back and look at the Audi JPY, let's go to Dex data charts. I don't know if it's going to do well on Edge. Let's see. There it is. Okay. And we got that signal coming out. Again, it froze on me. Something to do with this particular screen share system here. There we go. GPY right there. That signal came out right around here. Okay. So when that happened, we were calling it out for what? What were we calling it? Because this is on a, that's a 4-hour chart. 15 minutes. We'll jump back to each one here. All right, so I don't know that's fine. I was like, where's my Audi JPY? Okay, there it is. So the Audi JPY at 11:15 was a buy from 84.24. So Audi JPY at 11:15 right here for the buy. Sort of everything was going against it, right? We were already in. Let me put the SR back on top of it, right? Everything's sort of saying that it's going to be heading down at this point, right? Because we're up against a zone. Here's 11:15, 11 o'clock. We're up against this nice little touch base. Look, it rejected, 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 broke through, returned, rejected on the other side, and came back up. See how powerful? Broke through, came back up, rejected, rejected, broke through, came back out, rejected, broke through, came back up, rejected. So at this point, you have history, right? You have cause and effect of this line being very important. So is this a signal for you? Yes. It's a signal that says something's happening. Now, what do you do with it? You allow yourself to either, because you got some movement happening here, put in on Nadex, you put in a support or a statement that's up around in this area just above, and if you can get in a good price, $22 or more, then you take it. You got to shrink it down just a little bit. Now you're taking a little bit of extra. You're choking it up a little. You're kind of playing those numbers out just a little bit. You might be pushing that edge, but if you're taking it, you're taking it, right? But you're using the information from the NA intraday as a position of not so much direction, but of an event that is happening. And if it's going now, this is a medium risk trade because you're going against the trade, right? You're going against the signal, but you're going with price action and the movement of the market. But that's more level advanced. If you get here, and let's say the signal was for a sell, no brainer. right? Everything makes sense. It confirms. The signal comes out, confirm it. The signal comes out and confirm it. You have to make those decisions. Is it easy? I mean, I have some people who say, "Well, I'm just taking trades because I just want to take them all and I just want to follow. I don't want to think." You don't want to be a trader, because what happens if you can't see this stuff happening? If you can't see why does it give me a signal at this level? If you can't find out later on after doing 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 trades, then you'll never have independence. And I'm not trying to create a bunch of drone traders here. I'm sincerely trying to find people that can see the price action movement, that can feel that, use support and resistance, use the tools. I'd much rather you pay me for tools like indicators and using the web versions here and because the signals become an indication as well. You realize that the signals are now becoming more of an indicator than they are of a signal. And once you treat them that way, holy crap, you become successful with this. And I've even sharpened my portfolio now by able to do this. That makes sense, Mike?
Yes.
How do you find yourself seeing price action now? Are you able to see the different levels that you could be at and different reflections?
I'm starting to learn. Yeah, I never saw it from that way before until you opened my eyes, and now I'm starting to see it.
See it everywhere, right? You can't help but see it now. You can't unsee it. That's the point.
Exactly.
It's like the spoken word. You can't unspeak a word. In all of your lives of trading, every single one of you that are watching this after the fact, or you're watching this right now, once you see it, once you get it, and you see the levels that the indications are telling you, right? Because here's the thing. You can look at a chart that has all the information on it, right? Or you can look at something just as fresh as this. And the problem is that most people are too intimidated by these kind of looks, right? Because they're like, I don't know which way it's going to go. But you can also start to draw your own lines in at different levels. And the levels are peaks and valleys. That's what you're looking for. And ones that start to make sense. You start off on the high and the low of a time frame, right? Here's your time frame. You find some place in the middle somewhere that has a good peak or valley to it. And you start drawing these lines in. This becomes a range. You see this? States of influence. And you just start adding the lines in. And they start making sense once you get them in. Now remember, a support and resistance area is never about just one number. It isn't about a line. It's about a range. So you can find, if you go right there and it's always about that range, anything that touches that's the number. 0892 with my number, that's always going to reject now. It could be within 10, 20 pips of it. So 10 up, 10 down. Okay? But so once you set this into place, I'm on a 15-minute chart doing this. Right? Watch what happens if I slide left a little bit. Wait a minute. Why do these lines match up to other levels of influence? Look at that. Right there, right there, right here, right here, right there, right there. This is weeks before. Why are my lines from today using? Because the market is always going up, but it's always returning to certain levels of influence. And that's what you have to start looking at. Now, you ready to even get more mind blown? Okay, watch this. This is on a 15-minute chart. Watch what happens when I go back to a daily. And in fact, I can even do it in the reverse too, called top-down analysis. I'm on a daily chart right now. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. We're not like 7 years in. Okay? Even though there's a big gap in some of this stuff, if I put a couple of lines in it, the high and the low, for a period of time, watch what happens when I shoot back down to a 4-hour chart. Look at this. They meet up to certain levels. Remember, the the longer out you go out, day one, day two, the more of a range they become, right? But look, they end up meeting at certain time frames, right? They end up meeting at these levels of injection. And once a level is broken, the market always tries to come back to it at one level within a certain few amount of bars. So once it's broken, it tries to come back to see it broke through here, came back down, went back up, came back to it. It's always trying to return to it because that battle happens, right? So broke through, came back, started dancing around, broke through, came back, bounced around in this spot. Now, this is on a 4-hour chart, but the lines were set on a daily. Now watch what happens when I go to a 1-hour chart. Same thing. These are all set from a daily. So once you start seeing the lines and start seeing the levels that the lines create, because they're created by humans, you can start seeing the reaction to these things. And you can start seeing it on any chart that you now set, with lines or without lines. You can start seeing those references. And I think that's when you become a trader that will never be boxed in by complication ever again. Hopefully that helps some of you. So the any intraday I want you to start looking at some of those. If you're a 5-minute trader, if you're a long-term trader, it doesn't matter what you are. Demo these out. Demo a few of these out. Try it in the way I just showed you, going there from the indication of that the signals are an indicator. Get there, look at the MACD, see is it going in the direction of the signal? Is it up against the level and calling for it down, or is it down on a level calling for an up? And start demoing this out to see how well you can do by using the signal as an indicator of an event status happening, and then trading in the direction that the MACD and against the levels or closer to the levels that they are. Give that a shot and tell me how it works out for you for a week. I challenge all of you to come back to me and tell me you failed. Because you won't. You'll begin to see that all of our signals are really a process of indication. All right, let's get on to the next feature. The next feature that we want to talk about is called Dex beta testing. Now, Dex beta testing is a lot of mumbo jumbo, if you will, if you think about it. But how do we at Dex really operate? Well, I look for values and different strategies. How did we begin? Where did we come up with our first signal basis? Not to give you too much of a history, but the idea of what Dex became was that I started looking up strategies, right? And strategies are like, what are they, like opinions, like assholes? Everybody's got one, right? Everybody's got a strategy. When the market goes up here and it hits this level, and if it does a return of at least 42% on the Fibonacci, and you got a return rate on a Bollinger Band that does a crossover on the MACD, and a stochastic that actually goes up when it goes down, and if it doesn't go up, and then on the blue moon with at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, if everything happens, go in that direction. But in case it doesn't, then go in the opposite direction. Everybody has a hedge to their strategy, by the way. Okay? And this begins to make nonsense to everybody. And I found everybody had this strategy of the process. Now, everybody has a strategy, and then everybody tries to prove their strategy, right? But the proof is usually a window that's like, here's the market, and here's the trade. And they're like, look, my system called an up right here, and look, I won. So this proves that the system works. That's right. But it failed here, 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 and here, maybe been successful here, and then failed here, 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 and here, and was successful here. And you're just showing me one success. And I couldn't stand this, because every strategy that I was trying to find to make work for us, I would have to use a sheet, literally, because I didn't have the technical background when I first started 3 years ago, almost 4 years ago, trading in this particular fashion. I would sit and I'd do a sheet. Okay, that won twice. Okay, I'm going to put wins here and losses here, and that won twice, and then this one lost again, and okay, that one won. Okay, now it lost again, and then got one on there, okay, and you get the picture, right? And this is what my sheets were looking like, you know. And I had these composition books, right? And they were full. Imagine a full composition book of strategies, London breakout, sausage sushi, time immersion, all these things. And I was trading in these things and finding, 42%, 58%, 49%, right? And even if I were to find a time period, if this was a 1 month period, I would look at 2 months. I could get like on the second month, it could be like 67%, 78%, 95%, right? And it's like, wait a minute, but what's this? I got to isolate this variable. Why did I get 95%? This is awesome. Let's find a way to do this. But the very next month, it was 42, 51, 72, right? And you're like, well, wait a minute. Just the month before, it was 49%. Now it's 95. So going crazy like this, typing out all this information, trying to find the proper strategy, I had to do something. I had to finally say enough's enough. And this is where our basic strategy tester came in on board. And so I made the codes to take all the strategies, put in all the different variables for each strategy. So if this was like a London breakout process, I said, let me test the London breakout strategy with every other pair. So I put every pair in here, all 10 pairs, and I gave them test. So test it with a stochastic, test it with a MACD, test it with this, test it with that, test it with, I gave all these different variances, right? And I found out something when I tested all of them, which was very disconcerting. I found out that if this is 50% success, and this is say 60%, and this is 40%, right? We call this the mean, right? The middle, the average, right? Now, why is this so important? Is because in all actuality, if you got something that's got 60% success, 61%, you're doing pretty good. You're doing okay, especially in the market, 50 above 50%, north of 50, you're doing good. But what happens when you're south of 50? You're not doing good. If you're even south of 40, you're not doing good. So why not just flip it? But you had to have consistency of this control to know that it's going to be under 40 for a while, and flipping it would give you that result. But you're still, at any one time, 50-50 at that point, because at any time, it could flip around and go against you or go for you, right? And so any strategy was never as good as the data it could provide. That makes sense? Trading a strategy is, if you're trading a brand new strategy, of course, you're in uncharted waters. But if you begin to take one strategy and apply a signal, okay, up, down, up, down, up, and then down, and then down, and then down, and the signal provides this information that when it does something from one of these variables, you begin to see what works, right? And once you find out how well that worked, you compile the data back against itself to help it create more of a level of success, right? But what I found was that it wasn't so much that the signal would be correct, but that something was happening at that time period. What was happening? That was the big question. What was happening that gave the signal? And why wasn't it a success? Because one of these variables was looked at wrong, or maybe it needed to have, maybe the market had moved the last second, and from what we were using the system for over the time period, that it all of a sudden started to go against itself, either by news or by, it could be anything, a political value happened, anything could happen at that point. But knowing, how to spot that doesn't come from a machine, doesn't come from an algorithm. You now have to be the person who uses this event to actually say, am I staying in a trade? Is it going against me? You have to be present. Now, some of you don't want to hear this. You don't want here, oh, I don't want to sit in front of my computer all day to trade. You shouldn't. You shouldn't have to trade, sit in front of your computer. But if you get a fired signal off, you got to get to your computer and watch your money, right? Because what's this time frame? 1 hour? 2 hours? I don't have like an 8-hour trade on here other than spreads that we're going to be using here soon. And even then, to set and forget, leave it alone. Don't touch it. You know, so what is your time frame you're going to be sitting in front of your computer? And how much is that worth to you? That's what you have to begin to ask yourself. Now, the reason why I'm going down this tangent is because normally how I would take that strategy is I would take a strategy and I would trade it. I would create the machine. We would do something called back testing. Once it got approved through back testing, it would go into forward testing, which means that it trades in live trade fashion, like trading on a demo account. Okay. It gives me a percentage rate. Now that's the machine testing it. And then I get into consumer testing, which is all of you going in and testing. And I do all this out in the open, right? This is all sitting on Dex Signals or Dex Trader or Dex Indicators. We've done a version of this process, right? Well, what usually happens? We get a lot of people who come in, they test some of the features out, some fall off, some get good results, some don't. And there's no way for me to be able to sit down with every single person to be, to train them in every little detail of the process and what to expect, what not to expect. Some of you have experience, some of you want to take part in it, some of you don't. So we've created Dex beta testing because we're going to invite certain people from the network, okay? We're going to join the site. Yes, there is a fee to join the site, but it's very, very low. And the reason why we charge a fee is to keep every single person that just wants to get in there and just have another way to trade or do something else or to see what we're doing, that kind of stuff. I know people can still pay for it and all that kind of stuff, but the legitimacy at that point to be able to pay, to be a part of it, who are there to be in there. Now, I think it's like only something like $57, but you get to take part in all of the demos that come out, all of the beta testing that we get to do. Some will work, some won't. But no matter what happens from that point, if it succeeds and everything's going good, you get first access to it, and you get it for whatever you're getting in Dex beta testing for. So it's like 50% off, or almost 60-70% off of what it'd be charged for anything else. All right, and you get first access to it. So it's like you get to know exactly what we're doing at those particular points, and that's pretty powerful for yourself. But you also get full access to me with the process, because I'm the one in there trading with it and showing it being done. And how do we do it? We're sitting there in groups of people that, collecting the data, and you're part of that data collection as well. So what do we have coming in Dex beta testing? So now you know what Dex beta testing is. And so this is pretty big, because the other reason why we did DBT is because our competition is in our website. Our competition is on our YouTube channel. All these things are happening. Now, I don't fear our competition because they all have their own thing going on. But in our case, I got tired of mixing the main site with hopefully what we were going to be doing, because it gave a lot of people. So Dex beta testing is going to be kept pretty quiet to a certain level, okay? And only those that are going to join to be a part of it are going to be able to know. And paying with your credit card, paying with your PayPal, tells me who you are. We get to talk to you for a little bit. You do a consult with us. We get to question what you're doing, what you want to do with this process. We get to know who you are, right? Because we need to trust you to be able to do that process. And that's huge for us. But what's coming, okay, is very powerful. We have a solution for an 8-hour spread, right? Because what's going to happen at 7 o'clock, 7 a.m., a signal is going to release into a post. And it's going to give you the pair name, direction, and a price, and or the statement to get into, and a price to set the working order for at this point, right? Because if we have a trade and we say, okay, at 7 a.m. or at any time, you want to look at from 7 a.m. on, that if this price hits, say, 113.78, put a working order in for a sell, right? And this is kind of entry level kind of stuff that we're doing, where we're entering into a limit order, or not even a limit order, a working order process at a particular level on a spread, because when it bounces off of this level, it's going to gain these 15 pips or 20 pips, and we'll even sometimes give you a take profit of that side. It's going to say take it from this level, but only take 15 pips, right? Or $15. Now remember, that's per contract, right? You do 2 contracts, what have you. But the thing is that in demo and even in live, you're gonna be taking some of these statements that we're going to be giving are going to have a pretty wide gap. So you might be having to risk 120 something bucks to be able to get to this $15, $20. But that risk is very limited, because we're going to tell you, here's where you get out. Here's your emergency, get the hell out, and that's 15 pips up or 20 pips up. If it ignores this section and keeps on going, get out at this level, okay? But you have to be able to follow all these directions. So you have a stop loss, basically, that you can't put in automatically. You have to watch it. You have to set yourself reminders. You have to set yourself to keep looking at the market. All right, and we'll show you how to do all that in Dex beta testing to be able to follow this process before we put it out to everybody else. And you can help us. You will create customer data with that. You'll create customer value with that. And that's important to us. While at the same time, you're providing us with the ability to test out more because of your payments being a part of it and also being part of security. All right. Let me see if I add on a little whiteboard here real quick. The next thing we're going to come out are with the intraday. The intraday spreads. And intraday spreads are pretty powerful too, because they're going to be using the Dex Forex educational system signals as an event crisis, right? Like we were talking about before, right? The event comes out as a signal. The signal's valued in a direction, an up or a down. It's validated on the chart as a direction. All right, the MACD is all pointing down, and it's up against a level, so it's calling for a down, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put in for either a working order at a level or do an at-the-money trade and take it from there. We're going to look at that intraday, that we're going to have a stop loss suggestion at this point, but also know that even if it does continue to go up, there's an ultimate floor or a ceiling to the process of however many pips it is to that level. So it could be anywhere in between at the money to that level that you could get out at if it's going against you. But again, another trading format in here to how to learn this process. Lastly is in the Forex beta testing, we're actually going to take off of the main network, the Forex educational signals, and put them into this Forex beta testing. And it's only going to be exclusive in there to be able to get them. Some of you that are on board right now at Forex Ed, we're going to give you that availability to get over there and have that for those that have been doing them. For those that have not been trading on them over the last week, for whatever reason, I'm sorry, but it just didn't work out. I'm not sure what happened with you guys, but if you decided to take them on and you weren't giving the data, you weren't doing the data, then it's probably something that didn't work out for you. If you want to try again, then you're going to have to get over and get inside and start work with the Forex beta testing side. All right. So before anybody asks out there in the world and anybody in the room, why are we charging money for that? Of course, you should already know that it's going to be for a very low cost. It's going to be like 57 bucks a month to be able to do that, but you're going to have access to them all, because this isn't the only strategy we're going to have. This isn't the only thing we're going to have in there, because even though that Dex beta testing is about the financial market, it's also about other things too. There's going to be some business center stuff that's in there, right? If you own a business, there's going to be some business center stuff in there that we're testing on how to make money through, the systems and the trades and the platforms and everything else. There are some affiliate network solutions that are in there in Dex beta testing that you can come in and test for free within your payment, right? There's all these things in there. So if you're trying to make a business from home, if you're trying to make money from home, if you're trying to just make it all work at no matter what level, then this is the place to go, right? Because it's going to be testing out all the stuff that we're going to make live out there in the world, and people are going to be paying 4 or 5 times the amount that you're paying in 1 month fee for everything. So just keep that in mind. We're going to be building that here and releasing that to everybody. So lots of data and information from that point. And I have some people in mind who are going to help me run that, and some of them are already in the room. Right? Okay. Lastly, sort of covered everything here. Let's go over the final notes, and I'll let you all go. We're sort of squeaking the wire here. And I say the time is now. I really mean this, that your time is very important to you, of course, and you've got a lot of stuff happening. You don't want to sit in front of your computer all day and have to trade all that stuff, then I'm not sure what you're here to do. Whether or not it's here all day long. If I ever said that to anybody, you know what, I want to make $1 million a year, but I really don't want to do no work to do it. I don't want to sit in front of my computer all day and talk to people. But I have to. In order to make my business a success, I have to put the work in. And the only time that you're going to have to do it is right now. If you're not here to make a business, because trading is a business. It's not some cheat. It's not some trick. It's not some, flip of a coin kind of process for you to, should I do this or shouldn't I do this? If you're here, if you're looking, if you put the time in, the time is now. Make it happen. There's a lot of stuff to do because Dex beta testing, we have a marketing system that's coming out. It's called Our City Go-Go. It was out a long time ago. I had to close it after I got ripped off of all the money. One second. After we got ripped off of all the money from trading, Our City Go-Go had to close with our other network, Our City Radio. We had a lot of disgruntled people at that time because there was a lot of people mad at us that we had to close. They didn't get paid. There wasn't even really money to give them to them at that point. But there's a lot of people who were mad. We had a radio network with over 3,500 stations on it. It's incredible. 400 pages of networks and all these things. There was millions of people going to these systems a day. We had 2,700 people in the network primarily, and ended up topping out at 3,500 people went through the network and trained and did a whole bunch of stuff. This marketing system pushed a lot of people to different programs and stuff that we were doing. So we wanted to be able to bring this back so we could push a lot more people to Dex Trader, Dex Indicators, Dex beta testing, and everything else we're doing. So there's a lot to do. So if it's something that you have experience in, or you want to be a part of some of the other things that we're doing, then join up. Be a part of that. Okay. There's a lot more stuff to come. Like I'm saying, Our City Go-Go, OCR is coming back. There's a lot of little things that are happening. And I'm a notorious builder. And if I forget something along the way, if something gets put to the side, please bear with us. Reach out to us. Talk to us. Find out what happened to something that you're unsure about. Don't let the silence of you sitting in a room go deafen you. You have to be a part. If you want something more, you've got to grasp it and take care of it and make it happen yourself. That's what I'm doing every day. That's what Mike is doing every day. All right, at this time, Mike, do you have anything you want to add today?
No, that's about it.
Okay.
Sounds good.
For all of you that are watching after the fact, I want to thank you for getting to this video, part of the video. And I appreciate you being here. We're going to have a short questions and answers, and then I got to get going. But for everybody else that's in the room, stick around. And of course, for everybody watching this after the fact, I hope you have a great day today. There's a lot of stuff for you to go look at. And of course, as always, trade well. Thanks a lot. Talk to you soon.